I am Supreme, and today's Astro Oracle investigation will be on Kristen Modefferi. Kristen Modefferi is a student from North Carolina who disappeared in San Francisco on June 23rd, 1997, at the age of 18. Her case remains one of California's most high-profile unsolved mysteries. Definitely high profile because it aired on the actual show, Unsolved Mysteries with Robert Stack. So, after her freshman year at North Carolina State University, Kristen moved to the Bay Area for a summer photography course at UC Berkeley. She was last seen leaving her job at Spinelli's Coffee in the Crocker Galleria Mall around 3 p.m. A co-worker reported seeing her with an unidentified blonde woman later that afternoon. Bloodhounds eventually tracked her scent to a bus stop near the mall and later to the Sutro Baths area near Land's End. The Sutro Baths area used to be a very famous, I think it was one of the most famous bathhouses in California, like in the United States. It was a huge swimming pool park where it was like, it had like 13 saltwater pools. It was like full of different swimming activities. I believe it shut down in 1960. So, of course, this was way before Kristen Modefferi's time. So she wasn't in that area engaging in sutro bath activities. However, over the years, investigators have looked into various theories, including a potential connection to John Onuma, though he was never charged. Now, John Onuma was a guy that decided to, I'm not going to say play a prank, but he decided to purposely piss off one of his co-workers. The guy and his co-workers had nothing to do with Kristen Modefferi's open investigation. However, due to that being the current popular event, he decided to call into the police and act like somebody who had tips to what happened to Kristen Modefferi, because at the time law enforcement was looking out for any tips. So he decided to say that, one of his friends, Kristen Modefferi met with a gay lesbian love affair and it went wrong. Something to that nature. And that is how she and the lesbian lover killed Kristen or something like that. Now, John Onuma was well known because there were ads in the newspaper that had a lot to do with men meeting up with women, women meeting up with men, men meeting up with men, women meeting up with women, friends looking for friends, people looking for somebody to go out with, because apparently in a newspaper that was found in Kristen Modefferi's room, there was an ad that was circled that they believe came from Kristen. And John Onuma was supposed to have been the guy that answered Kristen's ad. She was looking for friends because the ad actually described Kristen Modefferi to a T and the things that she liked. So it hasn't been confirmed that that ad came from Kristen, but that was an actual lead. Come to find out, this John Onuma guy, though he may not have been charged with anything that has to do with Kristen Modefferi, he actually has ties with somebody that is a friend of Kristen Modefferi's co-worker. So they figure, what are the odds of that? I can actually understand the odds of that without taking sides, because that's just like meeting a person in the middle of nowhere. You may be on vacation somewhere and you may meet a person during your vacation. You say, oh, follow me on Facebook, or, and then you end up requesting them on Facebook, or they request you, and come to find out y'all have a mutual friend, and here y'all on some cruise ship out in the middle of nowhere, and you actually meet somebody that you have a mutual friend with in the States. So stuff like that happens. you know. But this guy wish he would have never made himself known, because they also found out that he's responsible for a lot of abuse and theft of these women that he would meet up with from these ads. You know, though they wasn't able to charge him with anything, but he has a well-known name for that. So in 2015 and 2017, cadaver dogs and DNA tests suggest the presence of human decomposition at her former Oakland residence, but no conclusive evidence linked this directly to Kristen. Now, I watched that. The DNA evidence that they found outside in front of the place that she was living at in Oakland, because remember, Kristen's from North Carolina, and so was her parents. Her parents had to fly out after they found out Kristen was missing, and they flew out, you know, participated in the investigation. Of course, what parents wouldn't? Like, they even gave their DNA because they couldn't get Kristen's DNA, so of course they had to go with the parents' DNA. So apparently they found, this is what this is saying: human decomposition at her former Oakland residence, but no conclusive evidence. This was DNA tests suggested that the presence of human decomposition. So I haven't heard anything about that since, but that's definitely a lead. And I really hope they looked further into that. Okay. Now, there was a law that in response to her disappearance, her parents successfully lobbied for a passage of Kristen's law. That's right, Bill Clinton passed a law because of this case in 2000, which provides federal funding for assistance in missing adult cases, previously focused on primarily minors. Okay, so as you can see, this case was very high ranking. You know, it was nationwide. Okay, even the president passed a law due to this case. So today is January the 17th. Kristen Modefferi still has not been found. Nothing has been heard of since. Okay, so millions of dollars have went into this investigation. They wasn't able to crack anything. So today, y'all know, not to bash the people who couldn't find nothing, but this is why I do what I do. Okay, because there is still hope. And I plan on proving that in every way possible. So in 2000, Kristen's law was signed by President Bill Clinton to provide assistance to police departments and families of missing persons over the age of 17. The law authorized the annual sequestering of $1 million for the support of missing persons organization, including the National Center of Missing Adults. Federal funding for Kristen's law ran out in 2005 after the law's expiration. As of 2025, the Modefferi case remains unsolved, still as of 2026. So what happened to Kristen Modefferi? I have Kristen's birth chart information in front of me, and I have her disappearance chart information in front of me. I have where the planets were located at when she was born, and I'm going to compare those to where the planets were located at the day she disappeared, because the synchronicities are going to tell a story. And then I'm going to pull from my Astro oracles and see what comes out for Kristen Modefferi. So she was born June 1st, 1979. Also, shouts out to a subscriber and viewer, Terry. These are my notes that I took on the charts. Terry-EE2EU. Please forgive me for any mispronunciations or any misspellings. I do appreciate all my subscribers and viewers for suggesting content, and I make sure I write it down to remind myself to give y'all a shout out. So, very well appreciated. So Kristen Modefferi was born June 1st, 1979. On that day, the sun was in Gemini and the moon was in Leo. And y'all know how I formulate time. Time is the sun divided by moon cycles. So when you put a Leo moon in Gemini's house, which is the third house, Gemini actually comes first. See, there goes that Leo moon right there in Gemini's house, which is the third house. That's Gemini's house. Everything in red represents whose house it is. Everything in black represents who's there. There I go, looking high yellow again. Let me try to turn this light down because I am not high yellow. All right. So you see Gemini comes first, right? So do you notice a pattern with my readings? Everybody who goes missing from the local environment, this chart seems to be a common denominator, a third house chart, because the third house is the house of the local environment and everything that takes place in the local environment, local neighborhood, local city, travels, interactions, phone calls, text messages, social medias, the block, the neighborhood, the park, you know, public transportation, Uber, Lyft. This is all situations that can happen in those areas happen in the third house chart. Okay, so Kristen's birth energy is a third house energy, which shows that wherever she was located at, she was known for exploring her local community. That is what this is showing me, especially because her moon is there in the third house in Leo. And Leo loves to enjoy celebrations, parties, barbecues. Wherever they are having fun at in the local community is where you would catch a person with this energy in the third house. That was Kristen. Parties, clubs, events going on in the local community. That is where you will find a person with this energy. Now, like I always tell you, I can't look in the birth chart to determine whether a person is dead or missing. But what I can do is look in the house of where things go missing and the house of death to see where things most likely started. We do know for a fact Kristen is missing. So the 12th house will be a prominent place to look. We don't know for sure if she's dead, but if she is, the 8th house would be where we would start. So in the house of the missing, I see Taurus. Taurus energy is the energy of money, material resources, and security. So we know that money and material resources have something to do with this disappearance. And it's going to come out later because whatever doesn't come out in the wash will always come out in the rinse. Now, we don't know if she's dead or not. But if so, let's do the starting point to see what most likely happened. In Kristen's house of death, which is the 8th house, I see Capricorn. And y'all already know what Capricorn means wherever it shows up at. An authority figure, that means the path that can lead to her death will involve an authority figure, a father figure, somebody that has ranking and status, somebody that has a name. It could be a boss, a supervisor, a manager. It could be somebody who's very successful, okay? But they are known for their success. So we're going to find out where this Capricorn ends up and where this Taurus ends up in her disappearance chart. And that's going to elaborate on this story and this case. Now, the day she disappeared, June 23rd, 1997, the sun was in Cancer and the moon was in Aquarius. And when you put an Aquarius moon in Cancer's house, which is the 4th house, the 8th house is rising. Scorpio comes first because Scorpio is the 8th sign of the zodiac. Now, the 8th house is where we was just looking at in Kristen's chart. That's the house of death. So the house of death is rising that day. So let's look in the actual 8th houses, both 8th houses, to elaborate on this likely death. Now in Kristen's chart, Capricorn starts her path to death. The 8th house is the chart that came out the day she disappeared, 20 something years later. You can't make this up. So, in the 8th house, that day, I see Gemini. Now, that's wild because look what comes first in Kristen's chart, Gemini. Remember, I told you, Gemini represents travel, the local environment. Whatever happened to Kristen Modefferi, it happened in that local environment. And I'm almost certain that whatever it was, it took her life. Because all the dots led to death that quick. And Scorpio comes first. Scorpio is the energy of death. Scorpio rules the 8th house, and so does Pluto. Now, where did Scorpio come from? Because that's going to let us know who was involved. Look in Kristen's energy. Scorpio came from her 6th house. That's the house of her employment, her job. The 6th house is the house of your place of work. So why am I seeing one of her employees? One of her employees. Now, this is Virgo's house. Where's Virgo at the day she disappeared? Virgo is right here in the 11th house of friends and members. This is a member of her place of employment who she most likely went to their home. Look at Virgo in Kristen's 4th house. The sun was in Cancer that day. This is Cancer's house. Now, what's in Cancer's house the day Kristen disappeared? Aquarius. That's where the member house came from, the friend. This is Aquarius's house, where that co-worker is from. Look, Kristen is right there at their house. She is at the co-worker's house. Now, and the moon is in Aquarius that day, and the moon rules the 4th house. The moon is at home in the 4th house. That is also how we know Kristen went to somebody's house, and it's somebody from her place of work. Now remember, she worked in a mall. So it may not be somebody directly from Spinelli's Coffee, but it's somebody that she linked up with from her place of work. Now she had 2 jobs, I hear. Spinelli's Coffee, and then she worked at some type of an art gallery that she worked at. So this particular individual, this member from her place of work, who was responsible for her death, this is the death energy. This is the friendship energy, the co-worker inside the friendship house, the individual. The nature of the individual that Kristen was last seen with was a worker, an employee. Okay? She could have went to somebody's job who worked from home. But this could also be somebody who's from her place of work. Now, I'm going to pull 4 cards from the Astro Oracle. This is the OG. This is going to tell it all. And then we're going to pull from the Lost and Found so we can find Kristen's body. Kristen Modefferi, what happened to you June 23rd, 1997? Tell us in 4 cards what happened to you. You was born June 1st, 1979, and you disappeared June 23rd, 1997. What happened to Kristen Modefferi? I am supreme. I am a high-ranking Astro Oracle psychic. You are about to witness a high-ranking Astro Oracle psychic investigation on Kristen Modefferi. What happened to you, Kristen Modefferi, in 4 cards? What happened to you June 23rd, 1997? 1, 2, 3, 4. Y'all ready? Y'all already see what happened? Now, check this out. Because energy don't lie. My energy don't lie. Now, look at this Aquarius person. And it came out in reverse. I read it the way it comes out to me. There are 2 cards that came out in reverse. The Aquarius person, whose house she was at. This is the individual from her place of work. Because see, that's Aquarius's house, right? This individual represents foul play. This is not a friend that she thought it was because it came out in reverse. The 3rd house came out in reverse. That's where it all started, and that's most likely where it all ended, because that's Kristen's birth energy. That's where she spent most of her time, in the 3rd house. And in Kristen's 3rd house is where her moon in Leo is, where she most likely pursued celebrations in her 3rd house. Some type of party, some type of event. Okay? Now, in the 3rd house of the day she disappeared, this foul play, she met up with an individual in a position of authority. Now, this could be law enforcement. This could be her boss, her supervisor, her manager. But somebody that has a high-ranking status in the local environment is who she met with foul play. And this is the person that's most likely responsible for her death. You know why? Because this is Gemini's house. And look, Gemini is in the house of death. Now, Capricorn is in Gemini's house. Look where Capricorn is the day Kristen was born, in Kristen's energy of death. Capricorn is Christian's energy of transition and death. When Capricorn ends up in Gemini's house, the day of a crime or disappearance, and Gemini ends up in the 8th house of death, the day of that disappearance, not only is the victim dead, but the person who's responsible has strong Capricorn energy. But it's the type of Capricorn energy that's also colored by the 3rd house of the victim, which is Leo. So this is an entertainment type of authority figure. This is either a singer, somebody with some talent that invited Kristen to a show. Scorpio came out. This person right here came out upright. This is a person. So there's 2 people involved. You have the Aquarius person whose house she was at, and then you have the Scorpio person who was also with them, but this is not their house. Because look who came first. Scorpio. This is the person that actually took her to meet this person. These 2 people know each other. Okay? You see Scorpio right there. That's the person that comes first in her disappearance. That's who she linked up with to go to this person's house. Okay? And that's where it all took place. Now, let's follow Pluto. We're going to follow Pluto because Pluto rules Scorpio first. Mars also rules Scorpio, but Mars belongs to Aries first. But Pluto, let's follow Pluto first. Pluto that day was in Sagittarius. Okay, now Sagittarius that day is in the 2nd house of money. That's Taurus's house. Remember, I told you somehow we're going to find out how this Taurus energy of her disappearance links into this case. Like I told you, whatever doesn't come out in the wash will always come out in the rinse. Okay, here we go. Sagittarius right there in Taurus's house. Sagittarius represents foreign travel. It also represents the foreigner. It also represents a journey. Sagittarius rules the 9th house. Okay, and in the 9th house, you see Cancer, the home, family, and the mother. She was at this person's home. This person is a foreigner, and the sun that day was right here in Cancer, at that foreigner's home. Cancer rules the 4th house. Who's in the 4th house? The person that she met with foul play. Now, I don't think this person did it. I think this person did it. But they both were together. That's why this person came out in reverse. It's still foul play. But this is the person that actually did it. Now, Venus came out. Venus came out. And Venus came out upright. Venus represents relationships. Of course, connection. Right? Now, this could have been a sex party. This could have been something that involves drugs, alcohol, and sex. Multiple people. Now, let's follow Venus. Because Venus comes out as a place for lovers. So this could be a diner. Let's find out. Where's Venus at? Venus that day is in Cancer, the foreigner's home. That's the place where she was at. And to elaborate on this place and who she was with, we got to look in Cancer's house. Because this is Sagittarius's house. About money. Remember, Sagittarius is right there in Taurus's house. But this place, this foreign individual's home. What foreign individual is this? Let's go to Cancer. Because Cancer's house is the 4th house. That the fourth house rules Cancer, but Aquarius is there. This person who is from her place of work, because look inside of Aquarius's house, you'll see the co-worker. And in Kristen's chart, that's whose house she was at, the person she works with, right there. Because in Virgo's house, you see Scorpio. This is the person she met at that place, but that person don't work with her. This person knows this person that actually works with Kristen. This just may have been the blonde that everybody's looking for, but this also just may be somebody that was just chilling out at that mall. But I believe this person was the first one that Kristen left that mall with to go meet up with this person who actually works at that mall. Let's find Kristen's body. Where is Kristen Modefferi's body? Where is your body, Kristen Modefferi? A body is a body, whether if it's alive or dead. Where is the body of Kristen Modefferi, who was born June 1st, 1979, who disappeared June 23rd, 1997? Where is the body of Kristen Modefferi? Where is the body of Kristen Modefferi, who disappeared June 23rd, 1997? Where is the body of Kristen Modefferi? In a vehicle that most likely belongs to a co-worker. Sixth house, that's Virgo's house. In a vehicle. In a vehicle. Whose vehicle? Look inside of Kristen's sixth house, you'll see Scorpio. This Scorpio person that came first. Look at that. Scorpio person that came first. Not the person that most likely works there, but the person that knows the person that works at that mall. You can't make this up. Now, look in the sixth house, the day of the disappearance. What you see? Aries. Remember I told you Mars rules both Aries and Scorpio, but Pluto rules Scorpio first, and Mars rules Aries first. Okay? Mars rules the raw and uncut aspect in your face, Aries energy. And it rules the undercover, secretive investigation aspect of Scorpio. So, let's follow this vehicle that belongs to somebody from Kristen's place of work. So, Mars rules Aries. That day, Mars was in Libra. Libra is the spouse, the partner, the person who she partnered up with. Now, Libra is governed by the planet Venus. Where is Libra at? Right there in the 12th house, along with this money thing, this money issue. Remember, I told you something involves money and material possessions. This was about money. This could have been trafficking, because I said sex was involved. Now, look at where Libra is in, because this is a hidden relationship. Anything in the 12th house represents what's hidden. Where's Libra at in Kristen's energy? Right there in the 5th house of romance and celebration. That is what was taking place during this relationship. Romance, sex, drugs. How I know it was drugs is because look in the 5th house the day she disappeared. You will see Pisces energy. Pisces energy represents intoxication and addictions. And when it lands in the house of entertainment, you already know what type of entertainment this is. Intoxication entertainment. Drugs, alcohol, psychedelics, addictions, lusts, sex parties, things like that. Her body came out in a vehicle. It could be in the trunk of a vehicle. And that vehicle could be parked somewhere in the 6th house. 6th house is a place of employment. It could be in a place of. Now, 6th house also represents sanitation as well. Okay? The sixth house also represents sanitation. Now, Mars, which comes from Virgo, led us to Libra. Okay? Now, Mars is in Libra the day she disappeared, but Mars is in Taurus in Kristen's energy. You see this? Taurus also represents physical resources, money and resources. Taurus represents a car and a house. That is a material resource. And Taurus did show up hidden. So this just may be the vehicle that her body is hidden in, that belongs to somebody she had a partnership relationship with, who she met in the house of entertainment during this intoxicating, entertaining experience. This is Leo's house, the fifth house. And remember, Kristen Modefferi pursued Leo activities in her third house, the local environment. Where's Leo at the day Kristen actually disappeared? Right here in the 10th house. This was a public place of entertainment. And this is also somebody in a position of authority. Who? Who did this to you, Kristen? Who is this person? There was more than one person. I'm going to pull two people. Being that two people came out, elaborate on this Scorpio person and this Aquarius person. Who is involved in the disappearance and death of Kristen Modefferi? Two people. Two people. One, two. Okay. Makes sense. Both came out in the 10th house. Oh, and I just got finished talking about the 10th house. Now, the stranger came out in reverse, and the friend came out upright. You can't make this up. I just got finished telling you she went to a public celebration, and there was some type of person that had position. Leo in the 10th house represents public entertainment. She went to a show that involved an after party. Okay? You have the stranger, somebody she did not know, but she got to know that night. Okay? Then it was a friend. Aquarius energy represents the friend. But that's the friend that came out in reverse. You can't make this up. You cannot make this up. You cannot make this up. And I feel like the reason why the friend came out reversed the first time, but it came out upright, is because this friend wasn't the one that killed her. This friend was. This Scorpio person, I believe, is the stranger that she met. Now, what's going on in the 10th house of Kristen's energy? Pisces, that intoxication. I feel like this was the one that provided the drugs, that got her so high and drunk and did whatever they did to her. Because Pisces is in the 5th house of entertainment. Now, if you follow Neptune, it will elaborate on this Pisces situation in the 10th house, in Capricorn's house, which is the individual that she was with in the 3rd house to meet up with. Neptune, the day Kristen disappeared, was in Capricorn, right there. And Pisces, that intoxicating activity or purchase of drugs, is right there in Capricorn's house in Kristen's energy. So there is drugs involved. Okay, she got drugs from somebody. She was invited to an event that involved an after party, and there were people at this after party. I'm seeing a lot of drugs. I'm even seeing sex. I'm seeing orgies. I'm seeing something very demented. She got so drunk, something happened. and they killed her. And her body is in a vehicle. Where did that vehicle card go? Right here. Her body is in a vehicle from the sixth house, a sixth house vehicle. A sixth house vehicle could very well be a work vehicle. This could also, well, 1997, they didn't have Uber, or Lyft, so, but they did have taxis. This could be somebody who she got a ride with, who she paid a ride for, or somebody that made her believe that, look, I'll take you where you need to go. This is a helping vehicle because it's in Virgo's house. Anything in Virgo's house represents something that you need help with or something that's helping you. And the vehicle came out. And in Kristen's sixth house, Scorpio is there. So this has to be this person right here that came first the day she disappeared, which is where her body is, because Mars led us to the sixth house right here, Aries. Now, Saturn, which rules Capricorn, is also in Aries. So Mars rules Aries. Aries represents the killing, her body in this vehicle, because Aries represents the body. Okay? Now, Mars was in Libra and Taurus. And Libra represents relationships and Taurus represent money. Okay? And look where both Libra and Taurus is at, in Pisces house. The thing that's hidden. Okay? Look where Aries is in Kristen Modefferi's energy. Right there in the 11th house of friends, groups. That's Aquarius's house. And in the 11th house, the day she disappeared, it's a group of somebody she works with. They're going to find her body in a vehicle. Her body is in a vehicle. Now, also, the sixth house, like I said, it represents sanitation. So this could also be a sanitation vehicle. Okay? Her body could have been taken out with the trash and out into the landfill. That's this vehicle as well. If it is a regular pedestrian vehicle, I feel like it's a black vehicle. Black and red. Okay? Because Scorpio colors represent black and Aries colors represent red. So it's either a black or red vehicle, or either black and red. Black on the outside with red interior, or red on the outside with black interior. Or either black and red, some type of black and red involved in this vehicle. Yeah, that's my story and my reading on Kristen Modefferi, and I'm sticking to it. Keeping this on file. Kristen Modefferi, Astro Oracle Investigation. Y'all be blessed.